Hi there, and welcome back to the second devlog of my currently still unnamed game. Coming from the last devlog, the first thing I added was a simple chunk system to improve performance and make it easier to save progress. However, as you can see, that led to these weird borderlines at the edges of the chunks, which obviously looked quite bad, and I then fixed, basically reverting my change. Now then, that might be, well, not the best solution, but hey, at the time being I was just quite unhappy with these borderlines. But we'll come back to that later. As this is a survival game, I was quite eager to get the core systems like an inventory into the game as soon as possible. I, however, was still quite unsure about how the inventory would actually work, which is why instead of programming the inventory first, I drew and designed it in Sprite. Oh, and by the way, of course I could have looked at a tutorial on YouTube, however, I thought that it would be far more fun to just try it myself. Which in hindsight might have actually saved me a couple of hours if I would have just looked at the tutorials. But anyway, after a bit of fiddling around, I ended up with the basic design you can see here. And it works by basically having the items on the left side, an item description and an item picture on the right side at the top, and then a few interactions with that item on the bottom right. Now then, this design is going to be changed quite a lot throughout the series. However, I thought it's fine for now, and I then worked at actually getting the inventory to work, which was about 3 hours of continuous head bashing and frustration. With the basic inventory system done, however, I then added item drops to the various objects like the trees and stones. And with all of those things in the game, it already was quite fun to just run around and gather a few resources from the surrounding objects. The inventory still had quite a lot of problems, like not being actually able to move the items, but at that time I thought it was good enough as a base. And yes, this is going to bite me later. However, with the regained confidence at that time, I then just completely changed the world generation, as I didn't quite like the island idea as much anymore, and instead I changed it to a continuous landmass. This was far less restricting for the player, and also fixed a few problems I had in the past, like what if the player spawns on an island that doesn't have any trees or stones? Yeah, that's not so good. And after fiddling around with my old terrain system, I gave up and basically completely rewrote and refactored my system. The new one was then far cleaner, easier to use and faster. And with that new terrain generator, I also worked on new sprites, using a technique I learned, which is basically to draw all of the sprites on one canvas, and this actually gives you quite a good indicator if one of them looks off or not. And with all of the new art in the game, which I do have to say I quite like, the last thing I did was finally change the red square to an actual player model, which really brought everything together, in my opinion. The player was, by the way, from the Pixel Dudes tool on itch.io. And yeah, with that, I think that's the end for the second devlog. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to write a comment about anything you might like to see in the game in the future. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.